Hey. All right. We are live on YouTube. Okay. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. It is November the 20th, 2020. We are on day 3 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 2-year consecutive day count, day 671. 671. Yay. Okay, y'all. So today we're going to be reading Genesis 7, 8, and 9. And remember from yesterday, I was telling y'all about, we was talking about where evil spirits come from. Well, it'll kind of, it lines up more with yesterday, but I'm going to read it today anyway because I found it and I posted it in the description box where I told you I would, and also in the comments section. And I pinned it in the comment section here on YouTube, but it's found in Enoch chapter 15. So after we do the 3 chapters of Genesis today, we're going to read that, but we're also going to read Jubilees chapter 8, which lines up with today's reading. And it also lines up with tomorrow's reading, but we're just going to read it today. So let's go ahead and get started here. Let me minimize this so I can open up this. All right, beautiful people. 7. Okay. So here. Shalom, shalom, mother. Uh-oh. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm trying to minimize this. Can I do this? Okay, let's do this. Okay, I can do it this way. Okay, Genesis chapter 7. When everything was ready, Yahuwah said to Noah, "Go into the boat with all your family from among all the people of the earth. I can see that you alone are righteous. Take with you 7 pairs." Make sure that's all the way up. Okay. Thank you. Okay. I'm sorry, I had to turn the laptop all the way up. It was down, but I think y'all can still hear me because nobody said anything. All right. Take with you 7 pairs, male and female, of each animal I have approved for eating and for sacrifice, and take 1 pair of each of the others. Also take 7 pairs of every kind of bird. There must be a male and a female in each pair to ensure that all life will survive on the earth after the flood. 7 days.
Pairs, right?
Pairs. I was going to stop and say something about pairs. I mean, we all get that right. Okay, let me say my spot right here just real quick. We all know this, but, one don't work without the other. So, you know how there's a lot of talk about the LBGTQ elemental P XYZ movement. Sorry if you're up here. I'm not really making fun of it. I'm making fun of the acronym because it's crazy. But we know male and female goes together. And a lot of people like to put a lot of emphasis on the people who do that, their lifestyle and stuff. And I get it. It's wrong. It's not going to reproduce life. But a lot of people making a big deal about it. And I really don't think that they really should. Not that I agree with it. But what's going to happen is their lifestyle and their sin is just going to burn them out. So you don't really need to harp on them about the wrong that they're doing. People know what they're doing in their life. And if what you're doing doesn't reproduce life, it doesn't work. And its punishment is within itself, So, and a lot of times people who engage in those lifestyles, they die by disease or some other thing, but they don't reproduce life. Some stop it and they return to the natural way of life and reproducing. But a lot of things like, going to hell, you really don't need to do that because the sin, whatever sin it is, it already has its punishment attached to it, people. It people call it karma or whatever, but when you sin, it already has an attachment to it. Just like if you're overeating, if you continue with your overeating, call it gluttony. Your sin of gluttony has its what's the word I just used? The sin, it has its, what's going to happen, it's going to, darn it, what's the word I want to use? I think I just said it. what's going to happen from overeating is going to lead to death. Is what I'm saying. There was a word that I was trying to come up with, but whatever sin it is, if you're taking drugs, if you don't stop going in that direction, you're going to burn your body out anyway. So whatever sin people are committing, especially if there are sins unto death, death is going to be your end if you don't stop it. So that's why I say you don't really need to harp on a lot of people. Now, some people, if they reach out and they need help, there's a way we can help them get free from whatever it is that they're struggling with. But to go out and like bang on people's doors and this is wrong and this is that, and people know what they're doing is wrong. You really don't even need to tell them whether they're taking substances in their body, they want to kill somebody else, or the repercussions of that thing is within itself, and the repercussions of what they did will take them out if they continue on that road, is what I wanted to say, But even from the very beginning, when Yahuwah said, make sure you take a pair, male and female, because male and female go together. Remember the shooting in Orlando like 5 years ago, like 50 people died. They were all a part. They were all a part of the LGBT community. That's interesting, Tylane. I did not know that. But yeah, it doesn't matter. Yahuwah's word is true. Your sin will find you out if you don't stop. I like that. One of my pastors used to say that your sin will eventually find you out. What you do in the dark will come to light. Anything you're doing, like, it's going to be exposed. Even as simple as overeating. If you continue to overeat, you're going to start experiencing health issues, and your body is going to start to change, and you're going to start getting sick, and systems in your body are going to start shutting down. And if you don't stop it, you're headed to the grave. You're headed to the grave early. Your sin has found you out. You find yourself DEAD early. So we don't want to do that, people. Okay. Take with you 7 pairs, male and female, of each animal I have approved for eating and for sacrifice, and take 1 pair of each of the others. Also take 7 pairs of every kind of bird. There must be a male and a female in each pair to ensure that all life will survive on the earth after the flood. 7 days from now, I will make the rains pour down on the earth, and it will rain for 40 days and 40 nights until I have wiped from the earth all the living things that I have created. So Noah did everything as Yahuwah commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the flood covered the earth. And we know that's right, because remember when we read yesterday in Jasher, it talked about the flood came upon the earth when Noah was 600 years old. He had 5 years to build it. He started at 595 years old. Noah was 600 years old when the flood covered the earth. He went on board the boat to escape the flood, he and his wife and his sons and their wives. With them were all various kinds of animals, those approved for eating and for sacrifice, and those that were not, along with all the birds and the small animals that scurry along the ground. They entered the boat in pairs, male and female, just as Yahuwah had commanded Noah. After 7 days, the waters of the flood came and covered the earth. While Noah was 600 years old, on the 17th day of the 2nd month, all the underground waters erupted from the earth, and the rain fell in mighty torrents from the sky. The rain continued to fall for 40 days and 40 nights. That very day, and remember, when it came, it wasn't just, like I said, it wasn't just coming from the sky. It had never rained from above until this time. And that's why the people thought Noah was crazy. Yahuwah watered the ground from underneath. So not only was the windows of heaven open and the waters came down in mighty torrents, like it said, but it was also gushing up from the ground. So they was getting the waters from above and the waters from below. That very day, Noah had gone into the boat with his wife and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives. With them in the boat were pairs of every kind of animal, domestic and wild, large and small, along with birds of every kind. 2 by 2, they came into the boat, representing every living thing that breathes. A male and a female of each kind entered, just as Yahuwah had commanded Noah. Then Yahuwah closed the door behind them. For 40 days, the flood waters grew deeper, covering the ground and lifting the boat high above the earth as the waters rose higher and higher above the ground. The boat floated safely on the surface. Finally, the water covered even the highest mountains on the earth, rising more than 22 feet above the highest peaks. All the living things on the earth died: birds, domestic animals, wild animals, small animals that scurry along the ground, and all the people. Everything that breathed and lived on the dry ground, on the dry land died. Yahuwah wiped out every living thing on the earth: people, livestock, small animals that scurry along the ground, and the birds of the sky. All were destroyed. The only people who survived were Noah and those with him in the boat, and the flood waters covered the earth for 150 days. Tanisha, I saw you put an attachment, but I can't see it up here. Okay, Genesis chapter 7. When everything was ready, Yahuwah said to Noah, "Go into the boat with all your family, for among all the people of the earth, I can see that you alone are righteous. Take with you 7 pairs, male and female, of each animal I have approved for each." Wait a minute, hold on. Hold on. Didn't it change? I'm sorry. It didn't change. Okay, I'm sorry, y'all. Genesis chapter 8. But Yahuwah remembered Noah and all the wild animals and livestock with him in the boat. He sent a wind to blow across the earth, and the flood waters began to recede. The underground waters stopped flowing. The torrential rains from the sky were stopped. So the flood waters gradually receded from the earth. After 150 days, exactly 5 months from the time the flood began, the boat came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. 2.5 months later, as the waters continued to go down, other mountain peaks became visible. After another 40 days, Noah opened the window he had made in the boat to release a raven. The bird flew back and forth until the flood waters on the earth had dried up. He also released the dove to see if the water had receded and it could find dry ground. But the dove could find no place to land because the waters still covered the ground. So it returned to the boat, and Noah held out his hand and drew back the dove inside. After waiting another 7 days, Noah released the dove again. This time the dove returned to him in the evening with a fresh olive leaf in his beak. Then Noah knew that the flood waters were almost gone. He waited another 7 days and then released the dove again. This time it did not come back. Noah was now 601 years old. On the first day of the new year, 10.5 months after the flood began, the flood waters had almost dried up from the earth. Noah lifted back the covering of the boat and saw the surface of the ground was drying. 2 more months went by, and at last the earth was dry. And that's, count that up, that's 12 months. They was in that boat. And when we read Jasher Jubilee, was it Jubilee Jasher yesterday? Jasher yesterday, it said that they were in the boat for a whole year. And even in Genesis, if you count it all up, the time period, you can see it was a year. So Noah and his wife and his sons and their wives left the boat, and all of the large and small animals and birds came out of the boat pair by pair. Then Noah built an altar to Yahuwah, and there he sacrificed his burnt offerings, the animals and birds that had been approved for that purpose. And Yahuwah was pleased with the aroma of the sacrifice and said to himself, "I will never again curse the ground because of the human race, even though everything they think or imagine is bent toward evil, even from childhood. I will never again destroy all living things. As long as the earth remains, there will be planting and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night. Everything has a pair. Everything, male and female, sun and moon, day and night, cold and heat, summer and winter. Everything has a pair. Spring and fall." What you say? Genesis chapter 9. If y'all hadn't noticed, my wonderful husband is in attendance this morning for the reading. Okay, Genesis chapter 9. Then Yahuwah blessed Noah and his sons and told them, "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth, all the animals of the earth, all the birds of the sky, all the small animals that scurry along the ground, and all the fish in the sea will look on you with fear and terror. I have placed them in your power. I have given them to you for food, just as I have given you grain and vegetables." Right here in verse 3, if you read in the KJV, I think this is also a mistranslation, because in this particular verse right here, matter of fact, let me just switch to it real quick in the KJV. I'm going to read to you what it says. I'm gonna just switch real quick because I was looking at this morning and I've been thinking about this. Verse 3. It says, every moving living, everything that liveth shall be meat for you. Then there's a semicolon there, which breaks the sentence in half, and it begins another thought. Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you, even as the green herb I have given you all things. But here in the original language, meat, and see, here's one of the things that you have to understand about the English language. All the words that we have that sound the same, that are spelled different, it's a type of word play, like bear and bear. Like I can bear with you when there's a big bear. Meat and meat. We can eat meat and I'll meet you at 5. Or, y'all get what I'm saying, right? And this is one of those things in very specific places, they change out words. And this meat right here, it really shouldn't be the meat that you eat. It really, if I understand it correctly from the original text, is every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you. It shall be useful for you. Like the animals, what do they mostly use the animals for? They use them for like transportation. They rode on them and they use them to help plow and to do stuff like that. It shall be meat for you. It shall be useful for you in the things that you need to do here on the earth to help cultivate the land and, all that stuff, right? So I just wanted to bring that out. All right, so that I truly believe that's a typo. I'm still looking at all of those, pulling all of those out, but I'm gonna say 99% sure if I understand that from the original text. And I'm gonna actually do a separate, once I finish all my notes on that, I will I'm gonna do a video on that and post that with all my resources. Okay, let's go back. All right, verse 4. But you must never eat any meat that still has the life blood in it. And all this stuff, we're going to go over all of this. And I will require the blood of anyone who takes another person's life. If a wild animal kills a person, it must die. And anyone who murders a fellow human must die. If anyone takes a human life, that person's life will also be taken by human hands. For Yahuwah made human beings in his own image. Now be fruitful and multiply and repopulate the earth. Then Yahuwah told Noah and his sons, I hereby confirm my covenant with you and your descendants and with all the animals that were on the boat with you, the birds, the livestock, and all the wild animals, every living creature on the earth. Yes, I am confirming my covenant with you. Never again will flood waters kill all living creatures. Never again will a flood destroy the earth. Thank you, Eddie. Meat in the Bible represents food. Yeah, it's that's what I'm saying. I'm still doing that stats. I'm almost certain, but if you look at it in the original text, that's why I said once I get done, I'm gonna do a video. In some places where if you read in the original text where it has meat, where it's actually food, it'll use a different word in other places where we thought it was food because you get the wrong picture if you don't translate it appropriately. That's why I said I think it's a mistranslation. So that's why I'm putting all the notes and actually writing the original words from the original text so we can compare and look at all of them together. Like I said, I'm still in the process of doing all that and bringing it together. And once I'm done, I need to make the corrections. I'll make the corrections, but it's quite interesting as I see it change in different places where we know they're clearly eating food, and where they're not eating food, but they're still using that word. So I'll have that done in a few weeks. Okay. Yes, I am confirming my covenant with you. Never again will flood waters kill all living creatures. Never again will a flood destroy the earth. Then Yahuwah said, I am giving you a sign of my covenant with you and with all living creatures for all generations to come. I have placed my rainbow in the clouds. It is a sign of my covenant with you and with all the earth. When I send clouds over the earth, the rainbow will appear in the clouds, and I will remember my covenant with you and with all living creatures. Never again will the flood waters destroy all life, When I see the rainbow in the clouds, I will remember the eternal covenant between Yahuwah and every living creature on the earth. Then Yahuwah said to Noah, yes, this rainbow is a sign of the covenant I am confirming with all the creatures on the earth. The sons of Noah who came out of the boat with their father were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham is the father of Canaan. From these three sons of Noah came all the people who now populate the earth. After the flood, Noah began to cultivate the ground and he planted a vineyard. One day he drank some wine he had made and became drunk and lay naked inside his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw that his father was naked, and in the KJV it says he saw his father's nakedness. Then he saw that his father was naked and went outside and told his brothers. Then Shem and Japheth took a robe, held it over their shoulders, and backed into the tent to cover their father. As they did this, they looked the other way so that they would not see him naked. When Noah woke up from his stupor, he learned what Ham, his youngest son, had done. Then he cursed Canaan, the son of Ham, saying, may Canaan be cursed. May he be the lowest of servants to his relatives. Then Noah said, may Yahuwah, the God of Shem, be blessed, and may Canaan be his servant. May Yahuwah expand the territory of Japheth, and may Japheth share the prosperity of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. Noah lived another 350 years after the great flood. He lived 950 years, and then he died. All right, people. So we're going to go ahead and hop on over here to the Sefer, or to the Apocrypha, and we're going to read Enoch 15 first, right? Remember, we talked about where the evil spirits came from, and I put it in the comment section yesterday, but I want to read it out loud for you today. Remember, we was talking about how the angels came down and had sex with the human women. Okay. Enoch chapter 15. Then addressing me, he spoke and said, Hear, neither be afraid, O righteous Enoch, you scribe of righteousness. Approach hither and hear my voice. Go say to the watchers of heaven, who have sent you to pray for them, you ought to pray for men, and not men for you. Wherefore you have forsaken the lofty and holy heaven, which endures forever, and have lain with women, have defiled yourselves with the daughters of men, have taken to yourselves women, have acted like the sons of the earth, and they have begotten giants. You, being spiritual, holy, and possessing a life which is eternal, have polluted yourselves with women, have begotten in carnal blood, have lusted in the blood of men, and have done as those who are flesh and blood do. These, however, die and perish. Therefore have I given to them women, that they might cohabit with them, that sons might be born of them, and that this might be transacted upon the earth. But you, from the beginning, were made spiritual, possessing a life which is eternal, and not subject to death forever. Therefore made I not women for you, because being spiritual, your dwelling is in heaven. Now, and here is getting to the point where it tells us where like the evil spirits come from. Listen carefully. Now the giants who have been born of the spirit and of flesh shall be called upon the earth evil spirits, and on the earth shall be their habitation. Evil spirits shall proceed from their flesh, because they were created from above. From the holy watchers was their beginning and primary foundation. Evil spirits shall they be upon the earth, and the spirits of the wicked shall they be called. The habitation of the spirits of heaven shall be in heaven, but upon the earth shall the habitation of terrestrial spirits who are born on the earth. The spirits of the giants are like Nephilim, which shall oppress, and here's what they do in the earth, which shall oppress, corrupt, fall, content, and bruise upon the earth. They shall cause lamentation. No food shall they eat, and they shall be thirsty. They shall be concealed, and they shall rise up against the sons of men and against women, for they come forth during the days of slaughter and destruction. And we clearly know that we are living in the days of slaughter and the days of destruction. And it also says that they shall be concealed. If anybody has ever had an experience with the supernatural realm, or being attacked by a demon, or something supernatural like that, we clearly know that it exists. That spiritual realm exists. Just like, if we experience some supernatural things that are good, that realm exists. But that realm is concealed from our physical eyes. We don't see it unless Yahuwah opens our eyes so we can see it. All right, so I'll read that last verse again, the last two. The spirits of the giants are like Nephilim, which shall oppress, corrupt, fall, content, and bruise upon the earth. They shall cause lamentation. No food shall they eat, and they shall be thirsty. They shall be concealed, and shall rise up against the sons of men and against the women, for they come forth during the days of slaughter and destruction. All right, y'all. So that's where the evil spirits come from, and their habitation is here on earth. That's why it's a lot of evil and everything running rampant going on here in this place through people that they possess or people who totally give themselves over to them and messing with everybody from the unseen realm. Okay, y'all. Last chapter for today, Jubilees chapter 8. I'm sorry, I'm in Jasher. Jubilees chapter 8. And this is going into more detail about Noah after the flood. Okay. Hold on. I'm sorry, I was okay. Okay. In the 29th Jubilee, in the first week, in the beginning thereof, Arpachshad took to himself a woman, and her name was Rasu'ah, the daughter of Shushan, the daughter of Elam, and she bore him a son in the 3rd year in this week, and he called his name Canaan. And the son grew, and his father taught him writing, and he went to seek for himself a place where he might seize for himself a city. And he found a writing which former generations have carved on the rock, and he read which was thereon, and transcribed it, and sent owing to it, for it contained the teaching of the watchers, in accordance with which they used to observe the omens of the sun and the moon and the stars, and all the signs of heaven. And he wrote it down and said nothing regarding it, for he was afraid to speak to Noah about it, lest he should be angry with him on the account of it. And in the 30th Jubilee, in the 2nd week, in the 1st year thereof, he took to himself a woman, and her name was Melchah, the daughter of Madai, the son of Japheth. And in the 4th year he begat a son, and called his name Shelach, for he said, truly, I have been sent. And in the 4th year he was born, and Shelach grew up and took to himself a woman, and her name was Muach, the daughter of Kased, his father's brother, in the 31st Jubilee, in the 5th week, in the 1st year thereof. And she bore him a son in the 5th year thereof, and called his name Eber. And he took unto himself a woman, and her name was Azurah, the daughter of Nebrod, in the 32nd Jubilee, in the 7th week, in the 3rd year thereof. And in the 6th year thereof, she bore him a son, and called his name Peleg. For in those days, when he was born, the children of Noah, here's something I want to bring out, the days of Peleg, because Peleg is in our reading tomorrow. I believe it's in Genesis chapter 10. And in the 6th year thereof, she bore him a son, and called his name Peleg. For in the days when he was born, the children of Noah began to divide the earth among themselves. For this reason, he called his name Peleg. And they divided it secretly amongst themselves, and told it to Noah. And it came to pass in the beginning of the 33rd Jubilee that they divided the earth into 3 parts, for Shem and Ham and Japheth, according to the inheritance of each, in the 1st year, in the 1st week, when one of us who had been sent was with them. And he called his sons, and they drew nigh to him, they and their children, and he divided the earth into the lots, which his 3 sons were to take in possession. And they reached forth with their hands, and took the writing out of the bosom of Noah with their father. And there came forth on the writing as Shem's lot in the middle of the earth, which he should take as an inheritance for himself and for his sons for the generations of eternity. From the middle of the mountain range of Rapha, from the mouth of the water, from the river Tina, and his portion goes towards the west throughout the midst of this river and extends till it reaches the water of the abysses, out of which this river goes forth and pours its waters into the sea Miat, and this river flows into the great sea. And all that is toward the north is Japheth, and all that is toward the Negev belongs to Shem, and it extends till it reaches Caraso. This is the bosom of the tongue which looks toward the Negev, and his portion extends along the great sea and extends into a straight line till it reaches the west of the tongue which looks toward the Negev. For this sea is named the tongue of the Egyptian sea, and it turns from there. It turns from here towards the Negev, towards the mouth of the great sea, on the shore of its waters. And it extends to the west of Afra, and it extends till it reaches the waters of the river Gihon, and to the south of the waters of Gihon, to the banks of the river. And it extends toward the east till it reaches to the Garden of Eden, to the south thereof, to the south, and from the east of the whole land of Eden, and of the whole east, it turns to the east and proceeds till it reaches the east of the mountain named Rapha, and it descends to the bank of the mouth of the river Tina. This portion came forth by Lot for Shem and his sons, that they should possess it forever unto his generations forevermore. And I know that just kind of sounds like a bunch of words to us because we don't really have we can't see the map of the outlay of the land of the earth, but Shem got the biggest portion, So, but once I get all that, and they have some maps out there where you can see, but I think they're off just a little bit because in a lot of those maps, they don't include the entire Earth's landmass, which includes North and South America. North and South America existed from the very beginning, and when the land was divided, it also included that. It included all the continents. And Noah rejoiced that this portion came forth for Shem and for his sons, and he remembered all that he had spoken with his mouth in prophecy. For he had said, Blessed be Yahuwah Elohim of Shem, and may Yahuwah dwell in the land of Shem. And he knew that the Garden of Eden is the Holy of Holies. Listen. And he knew that the Garden of Eden is the Holy of Holies and the dwelling of Yahuwah, and Mount Sinai, the center of the desert, and Mount Zion, the center of the navel of the earth. These three were created as holy places facing each other. And he blessed Yahuwah, the God of gods, who had put the word of Yahuwah into his mouth, and Yahuwah forevermore. And he knew that a blessed portion and a blessing had come to Shem and his sons unto the generations forever, for the whole land of Eden, and the whole land of the Red Sea, and the whole land east and India, and on the Red Sea, and on the mountains thereof, and all the land of Bashan, and all the land of Lebanon, and the islands of Caphtor, and all the mountains of Sinir and Amana, and the mountains of Asher in the north, and all the land of Elam, Asher, and Babel, and Shushan, and Madai, and all the mountains of Ararat, and all the region beyond the sea, which is beyond the mountains of Asher toward the north, a blessed and spacious land, and all that is in it is very good. And for Ham came forth the second portion, beyond the Gihon towards the south, to the right of the garden. And it extends towards the south, and it extends to all the mountains of fire, which are volcanoes. And it extends towards the west, and the sea of Attal, and it extends towards the west till it reaches the sea of Ma'u, that sea into which everything is not destroyed descends. And it goes forth toward the north to the limits of Gadir, and it goes forth to the coast of the waters of the sea, to the waters of the great sea, till it draws near the river Gihon, and goes along the river Gihon till it reaches the right of the Garden of Eden. And this is the land which came forth for Ham as the portion which he was to occupy forever for himself and his sons until their generations forever. And for Japheth came forth the third portion beyond the river Tina to the north of the outflow of its waters, and it extends northeasterly to the whole region of Gog, and to all the country east thereof, and it extends northerly to the north, and it extends to the mountains of Kelt towards the north, and towards the sea of Mauk, and it goes forth to the east of Gadir, as far as the region of the waters of the sea, and it extends until it approaches to the west of Farah, and it returns towards Aphareg, and it extends easterly to the waters of the sea of Meat, and it extends to the region of the river Tina in a northeasterly direction until it approaches the bordery of its waters towards the mountain of Rapha, and it turns around toward the north. This is the land which came forth for Japheth and his sons as a portion of his inheritance, which he should possess for himself and his sons for their generations forever. 5 great islands and a great island in the north, but it is cold. And the land of Ham is hot, and the land of Shem is neither hot nor cold, but it is of blended cold and heat. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today. All right, so that was Genesis 7, 8, and 9, and Jubilees chapter 8, which we just finished reading. And right before this, we read Enoch chapter 15, which tells us where evil spirits come from. All right, beautiful people, it is Friday, November the 2020, day 3 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 671. Yes, it definitely sounds like a map, Tiffany. It is a map. And like I said, there are people that kind of, they got some laid out. They try to do it as close to what scripture says as possible. But one thing you run into is how they've changed the lands and what they're called over and over again. So it takes a little while to actually get back to the root of it, because some people are using like the 1700 maps, some people are using the 1500 maps, 1400 maps. Some say there's even some that were before then. You know, you got all different kind of cartographers, the map drawers. But it's a bunch of hearsay, really, you know, until we can track back the original names of everything. It's kind of hard. So, all right, beautiful people, that's it. So let's go ahead and do the blessing, which is found in, y'all know it, Numbers chapter 6. Remember, the first 21 verses is what? It's the Nazarite vow. Remember, man or woman can take the Nazarite vow. And the blessing starts at verse 22 all the way to the end of the chapter, to verse 27. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people, I love y'all. And I will see y'all bright and early. Remember, it's Saturday tomorrow. So 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember, we're doing the Sabbath according to how Enoch tells us to do it and how it rotates with every new moon. So it falls this month. The new moon fell on Sunday, which was this previous Sunday. It was a new moon. So you count 7 days and boom, we have the Sabbath. So the Sabbath, this next moon cycle, falls on a Sunday. So for this moon cycle, the Sabbath is Sunday. So we'll rest on Sunday, but we'll be here tomorrow bright and early, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, people, Facebook and YouTube. All right. Love y'all. See y'all in the morning.
Now I'm coming out.
We can on school, but mom, I go to school.
Yeah.